Only 2 weeks remain in the 2023 regular season, and conference championships hang in the balance. While the SEC, Conference USA, and MAC have the title matchup set, only the ACC, with Florida State, and Sun Belt with Troy, otherwise have a program that has clinched a spot. But that can change in a major way in Week 12. In the Power 5 alone, Washington, Texas, Louisville, and Iowa have win and in scenarios. For every possible clincher, though, a spoiler is lurking. Oregon State, Iowa State, Miami, and Illinois would love to smash or even simply delay the championship dream of their respective opponents. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Week 12 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he should come in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him back with us tomorrow night for NFL Friday. Calm before the storm week is what I'm simply calling this week. Even though there are some good games here and there, but not overly exciting. Next week, yeah, that's going to be huge. And we have a big future content announcement that we're going to share at the end of tonight's show, unless you already saw my Facebook post that I shared early this morning. So with that being said, let's dive right on in to week number 12, and no games in progress. They're all Saturday games. So we're going to start it off with, wow, how about this? 7 12 noon games that are going to be kicking off at 12 noon, all involving top 25 teams. So, and we're going to start it off with the number 3 team in the land, according, of course, to the latest college football playoff rankings that were unveiled this past Tuesday night. We're going to start it off with good old MF Michael Fletcher's team, the number 3 Michigan Wolverines, on the road against the Maryland Terrapins at SECU Stadium in College Park, Maryland. It's big noon on Fox, and you already know who's working this game. As always, it will be indeed Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, and the All-American girl Jenny Taft. Michigan opening up as a 19.5-point favorite. An almost 20-point spread for Michigan. With or without Jim Harbaugh, whose hearing for a temporary restraining order is tomorrow, the Wolverines have a great opportunity on Saturday. Michigan can become the first program to reach 1,000 all-time wins. Given how dominant the Wolverines have been defensively and Maryland's recent struggles on offense, that's a likely outcome. I got Michigan winning this game comfortably. I'm going to say 34-13, their final tune-up, of course, before the big one next week. So a game that I believe has the potential to be a game of the century type game, if you ask me. So there isn't much more to say. 34-13. I got Michigan winning this thing comfortably. So good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. I know it has been a very rough several weeks for Michigan. Jim Harbaugh getting suspended for the final 3 games. Sharon Moore, offensive coordinator, interim head coach in the meantime. You felt that emotion. You saw that emotion after that gutsy win over Penn State, that hard-fought win over Penn State last week. You got Maryland here, and I already know what you're telling the guys. If it was you, do not look past these guys. Take care of business. Do your job. And then we focus on the game of the century next week.
Yeah. Basically, everything that you just said is absolutely true. We're not, and also the mere fact that we're looking at possibly 1,000 wins for Michigan as a school, to possibly be the first team to ever do it. No college football team has even come close to that historical number. So for Michigan to be the first team to do it would be pretty epic. Obviously, being number 3 in the rankings, being where we are at this point of the season, uh, there's really nothing more for us to do. It's just handle our business, win this game, and then prepare for practically the game of our lives against Ohio State, with everything that was going on, with the backdrop of the scandal and everything that's going on. Um, Without a doubt, there's no other game that I would like to get. But the thing is, we gotta remain focused on the job at hand. Maryland's a team that you do not want to overlook. They did push Ohio State at least 2 or 3 quarters hard before they finally realized, oh, man, this we just don't have the horses to win this, and kind of flamed out at the end. This is one of those type of moments where if you're Michigan, you just got to handle your business. JJ and the boys are gonna do what they need to do. The defense have been pretty stout. Look, other than that late touchdown at the end, if you think about it, Michigan held Penn State to almost 9 points until that late touchdown. But that was kind of one of those where it was already late. The game was already practically decided at that point. It was just a late touchdown that kind of made the game a lot more closer than what it was. If you really would have saw the game from beginning to end, you would have realized, nah, Michigan dominated this one. They won this game, and they weren't going to lose this at all. And sure enough, it was a big win for them, and a statement win, because a lot of people started jumping on Michigan, saying about how everything was going wrong and the whole 9 yards. And Michigan turns around and is like, you know what? Nah, we know what we are. We know who we are. That identity, that emotion, everything else. Yes, I know some people criticize the coach for crying over Jim Harbaugh, saying, "Oh, he's only suspended. He's only out 3 Saturdays. He's with your team." You got no idea what's really been going on with Michigan. Obviously, they felt like something was definitely wrong. The NCAA hasn't even fully investigated it yet. It's just that the Pac-10 basically caved to everybody else, thinking, "Oh, there must have been something wrong. We gotta make an example now." Yeah, where's the proof? But I'm not even getting there. I don't want to get there. I don't want to get into a pissed off rage or a rant. I'm not in the mood for it anyway. So just handle the business, get the job done, and we'll have more to say next week when Ohio State coming to Ann Arbor. So another more safe player with yours.
All right, MF, and you'll be leading off on our next high noon game here. There's going to be a lot of these what we call locks of the week, and here's one of them. The number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide back at home at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, welcoming the Mocs of Chattanooga. SEC Network. It's going to be like ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus, where you can find it. John Schriffen, Rocky Boyman, Dawn Davenport will be on the call for it. No spread. Alabama's got to be a more than sizable favorite. So, MF, obviously a tune-up for Bama before the Iron Bowl against Auburn next week.
Absolutely. And the thing is that you want to have these nice wins. You need a dominating victory because of the fact that technically Alabama, believe it or not, is not out. There's an outside chance of them to make the college football playoff. They're going to need a lot of help, and they're going to need a lot of things to go their way. But Bama's not out of the realm of possibility. Again, like I said, I think right now they're jockeying for a New Year's Six position. And I do believe that if they get the job done, I do believe that we could see Alabama in a New Year's Six bowl game. Now, where would they go at that point? Who knows? But the New Year's Six is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And if Bama makes it, that's a $5 million payday for Alabama to be in the New Year's Six bowl. So it'll be big for them if they get there. And if they just keep playing the way they're playing, they keep getting into that top 10, top 8. I believe Bama will be in it. And if Bama makes it, hey, whoever that team is that's got to face them off on New Year's Six, good luck with that. So nothing more to say. Bama wins. Fuego go.
Gonna make it short and sweet here. Chattanooga is a quality lower division team on the fringe of making the FCS playoffs. Alabama is Alabama. Easy win, one of the locks of the week, 45-7. Alabama all over Chattanooga. Next up, I would have to say, if I'm going to be honest with you, this might be the game of the 12 noon window here. The number 10 Louisville Cardinals on the road against the Miami Hurricanes, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. You can find this game over on ABC. And on the call for this one, Sean McDonough, Greg McElroy, and Molly McGrath. Louisville is opening up as only a 1-point favorite. That's it. It's almost like a pick'em game if you really think about it. But this is one of the few exciting games of the week. Miami's mini quarterback carousel has spun back to Tyler Van Dyke, who had been benched in favor of Emory Williams, whose season just ended with an arm injury. Although the Canes can be stingy on defense, their ineffectiveness on offense in the last month is impossible to ignore. Louisville should be able to outlast Miami and seal a spot in the ACC championship game opposite Florida State. Louisville wins, close game, 23-20. Louisville steals one at the Hard Rock, gets by Miami, and moves on to a possible ACC championship showdown with Florida State in a couple weeks. So 23-20, Louisville wins in one of the few bright spot games of the week. So not much more to say. MF, Louisville controls their own destiny. They win. They might be on their way to a showdown with Florida State in the ACC title game, but never underestimate the U. You know this better than anybody.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, Anthony, they pushed Florida State to the limit for most of that game. If it wasn't for that injury and then they had to put in Tyler Van Dyke, who knows, man? I think Florida State was very fortunate that they got the victory that they did. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't dominating. That left a lot of questions about Florida State. It opened the door about some questions to be thrown, but at the end of the day, I think Louisville will be able to get the job done. Like you said, Miami's offense is so inconsistent, and the defense, yes, they've been better, but I just feel like Louisville, if they play like they played against Notre Dame, they're winning this game. So that's how I feel about it. Louisville should win it. Nothing more to say. Anthony, next matchup.
All right. And it will feature, here we go. The now number 12 Penn State Nittany Lions, once again at home at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. And they're going to be welcoming the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. You can find this game over on FS1. And on the call for that game will be Chris Myers and Robert Smith. Penn State opening up as a 20.5-point favorite. So, MF, opportunity for Penn State to bounce back after that tough luck loss to Michigan. I mean, they hung with them and then some. They gave your boys fits and then some.
Yeah, they did. No doubt about it. But again, I kind of have to disagree in one aspect because, again, if you watch the game, yes, Michigan, the score line will tell you something differently, but Michigan was pretty much in firm control of that game. Um, yeah, every time that they try to make a big play, Michigan was able to. Their defense was able to stack up, forced Penn State into some field goal opportunities. But at the end of the day, Penn State, yes, they won the game, but they weren't really, you know, I think they'll have a more easier time with Rutgers this time around. So no, I think Penn State they will, but they gotta have to do a lot better than the way they played against Michigan if they want to beat the Scarlet Knights. So Penn State wins, but yeah, nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
After a dismal day on offense in the loss to Michigan, Penn State fired coordinator Mike Yurcich. Given that Rutgers has ceded only 18.3 points a game, the Nittany Lions may struggle to score yet again. Penn State's defense will be the best unit on the field, though. I think Penn State will win this one. I think they'll pull away late. Penn State will knock off Rutgers 23-13. Penn State over Rutgers. So move on to our next matchup, and it features the number 13 Ole Miss Rebels, and they'll be at home at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi. And Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. That is in Oxford, Mississippi, and they will be hosting. Well, this is another one of those conference showcase. Another one of those showcase games. We'll call it showcase, if you will. Number 13, Ole Miss Rebels at home, Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, Oxford, Mississippi, hosting the Warhawks of Louisiana Monroe. And you can find this game over on the SEC Network. And on the call for that game will be Taylor Zarzar, Max Stinchcomb, and Alyssa Lang. Ole Miss opening up as a 37.5-point favorite. One of the big margins of the week here. For comparison's sake, Texas A&M rolled to a 47-3 win over Louisiana Monroe earlier this season. Ole Miss had a rough showing at Georgia last week, but this one should not be very competitive. Ole Miss will win. They will bounce back. This will be a get-right game for Ole Miss. 51-17, Ole Miss all over Louisiana Monroe. So not much more to say here. MF, showcase game for Ole Miss, to get back on track after they got obliterated by Georgia. So now here's a showcase for Ole Miss, of course, MF, before next week when they go up against Mississippi State in the legendary Egg Bowl matchup.
Yes, and I have to say, this is another one of those type of matches that we're just gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, Ole Miss, I think they should have no problem here. So I got them winning, and like you said, it's another showcase game. This next one, though, not really a showcase. This one has some serious cred. So Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, this is one of the sleeper games of the week here. We have the number 14 Oklahoma Sooners on the road against the BYU Cougars. And that will be at BYU Lavelle Edwards Stadium in Provo, Utah. You can find this game over on ESPN. And on the call for that one will be Mark Jones, Lewis Riddick, and Quint Kessenich. And Oklahoma opening up as a 24.5-point favorite. So, all right, MF, your thoughts on Oklahoma and BYU? Oklahoma looking to keep pace in the Big 12.
Yeah, and I do believe they'll get the job done. Look, Oklahoma had this big run, and they were looking very good at one point. And then everything that played out was, they've been up and down, up and down, up and down. That loss in Bedlam, oh my God, did that devastate them so badly. But I do believe they'll stay the pace, they'll stay the course. I got Oklahoma winning. Nothing more to say, Anthony. It is all yours.
Since defeating Texas Tech a month ago, BYU has totaled 26 points and given up 117 in losses to Texas, West Virginia, and Iowa State. I don't think there's anything else left to say. I think Oklahoma wins. Oklahoma wins comfortably. 38-14, Oklahoma all over BYU. So I believe we have one last 12 noon game to get into. And it will feature the number 24 Tulane Green Wave on the road against the Florida Atlantic Owls from FAU Stadium in Boca Raton, Florida. You can find this game over on ESPN Plus for those of you who have that. And on the call for that game will be, just trying to find it here, Richard Cross, Taylor McHargu, and Smacker Miles. And Tulane opening up as a 9.5 point favorite. 9.5 point spread for Tulane here. Tulane continues to live dangerously, so the team's records don't feel important right now. I'm inclined to believe Florida Atlantic's inefficient offense, one ranked 104th in yards per play, won't be able to score enough to spring an upset. But I don't really trust Tulane to win easily either. I think Tulane will win, but not comfortably. 24-16, Tulane defeats Florida Atlantic. So not much more to say on that. MF, number 24, Tulane at Florida Atlantic to close out the 7-12 noon games here on week 12.
Yeah, look, we've been saying it for a while now. Tulane and everything else, and how we've been how ever since they got in, and we were talking about, that one team that can possibly get in from out of the Power 5 conferences more than anything else. Tulane is definitely one of those teams that's in consideration for one of the Power 5 spots. But I do believe Tulane should get the job done and win this game. So really, really nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF, and you're going to be starting off on one of the big games of the week. Yes. Anytime we get a battle of ranked teams, it's a big game. We only have 4 such matchups this week, but this is the first of them. It's a big game in the Pac-12. Humongous Pac-12 implications in this one. Now get this, number 17 Arizona Wildcats at home at Arizona Stadium in Tucson, Arizona. And they're going to be welcoming the number 22 Utah Utes. Pac-12 Network is where you can find this game. And I believe it's Ted Robinson and Yogi Roth on the call for this one. Just want to confirm it. Yes, it is. It'll be Ted Robinson and Yogi Roth on the call for the Pac-12 Network. Here's another pick'em. Arizona is opening up as only a 1-point favorite. MF, whoa. Big. This is going to be what this could, right for the moment, this could be the biggest game in Arizona football history. They're at home. They're number 17. They got number 22 Utah coming in. Wow, one of our 4 big main event games of the week, ranked versus ranked.
And not only that, but if you're Arizona, look, you have an outside shot at making the Pac-12 championship game. I know that doesn't seem possible, but weirder things can happen. If for some reason Washington should take a fall, if Oregon takes a fall, if one of these teams take a fall here and you win, you might open the door for yourself to possibly try to sneak in here. And so obviously Arizona is thinking, why not us? Why not us getting an opportunity? We're not Washington. Yes, we're not Washington State. Yes, we're not, we're right now. You guys probably thought that we were going to be bottom of the barrel at the end of the season, and here we are. They've had a couple of major upsets along the way. Why not one more? Is what they're saying. So yeah, I mean, everybody was thinking Utah was definitely on their way, and then a couple of losses here and there, things went a little missed, and now all of a sudden you're looking at possibly maybe a big win for Arizona. If they win this game, that's a game changer. Now we're talking about Arizona possibly making a run here. So I'm going to do it. I think Arizona wins. I like them at home. And the thing was, I went with Arizona a couple of weeks ago. I called for the upset, and I got it. I'm going to roll the dice one more time with the Wildcats. Arizona wins this one. You know what? Their college basketball team was riding high recently. They knocked off the Duke Blue Devils, who were at the time, I believe, number 2 in the nation. They knocked them off the perch. I think we're going to get a college football stunner. Yes, they're higher ranked, but I think a lot of people are thinking that Utah should bounce back and win this game. I don't think it's going to happen. I got Arizona winning. Florio, it's yours.
Oh, by the way, when Arizona beat Duke, they did it in Duke's house. They did it at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Yes.
So, yep. And you should know, I believe you had it, MF. Just as you had that Champions Classic the other night. Those 2 MF specials, Duke and Michigan State and Kansas and Kentucky. So, oh yeah, I know you were having fun with that the other night. But anyways, getting back to this. Few expected the Utah-Arizona game to have significant Pac-12 championship game ramifications on both sides. Utah is a regular player in the league title game mix. Arizona joined Utah and others this year in the conversation as part of its remarkable turnaround under their coach, Jed Fish. The Wildcats need to keep winning to have a shot at Las Vegas, but Utah's experience may be too much for them. Utah is as battle-tested of a program as there is in the FBS. It is 2-3 against ranked foes, and it came 1 possession away from beating Washington last week. Quarterback Bryson Barnes acclimated well to the starting quarterback role, and his success in wins and losses versus top 25 teams should help Utah pick up a win on the road in Tempe. Barnes recorded his season high in passing yards last week, and he ran for over 35 yards in 3 of the last 4 games. Both defenses are tremendous, and the result may come down to 1 big play from Barnes in either aspect of the offense to keep the Utes in contention for Las Vegas. As feisty as Utah had been defensively this season, the performance has dipped noticeably. Yes, that's a function of competition. USC, Oregon, and Washington all top 6+ yards a play. However, Utah only defeated USC because of its horrid defense. Arizona's surging offense is a tough matchup for Utah right now. And MF, I agree. I too am believing the hype. I'm believing in Arizona. I got Arizona winning this game as well. 27-23, Arizona defeats Utah. So with that being said, we move on. We got 4. We move on now to 4 3:30 kickoffs. And we started off with the SEC on CBS. And we got a good one here. This is another one of our main event games of the week. Back at number 1 in the CFP. They've always been I think they've been number 1 every week in the AP, but they're back in the number 1 spot in the CFP. Your reigning, defending, undisputed, back-to-back national champion, Maine and Georgia Bulldogs. Number 1 on the road against the number 18 Tennessee Volunteers from Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. The SEC on CBS. You already know who's working this game, of course. That, of course, would be Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, and Jenny Dell. And Georgia opening up as a 10.5-point favorite. Yep, that's correct. 10.5-point spread for Georgia. So at least the Vols are at home for this showdown. But last week brought some wildly opposing results for these teams. Georgia stomped Ole Miss to seal the SEC East Division title, while Tennessee lost badly at Missouri. Difficult to see that changing so dramatically in a week. I could see this being a close game into the fourth quarter, but I think Georgia's going to pull away. So I got the Maine Georgia Bulldogs winning this game 33-20. Georgia knocks off Tennessee in Knoxville. So not much more to say. MF, number 1 Georgia, number 18 Tennessee. The first of 4 3:30 games. Of course, as part of the legendary SEC on CBS.
Number 1 in coaches poll. Number 1 in the AP poll. Finally, and I think a lot of people thought the wrong was righted. Number 1 in the college football playoff. The Maine and Georgia Bulldogs, the reigning and defending national champions. But now they're going to Neyland Stadium. They're going against Tennessee. And remember, the last time we had a massive matchup that was this big was Bama versus Tennessee at Neyland. The poor goalpost ended up in the Tennessee River that night. Unfortunately, I don't believe that's going to happen this time around. I don't think we're going to have this knuckleball going right through the uprights, and he got it. And this time, if Tennessee fans storm the court, storms the field, it ain't going to be $500,000 they're going to be paying for a fine on this one. It's going to be it's going to be 7 figures, y'all. It's going to be 7 figures. It's going to be $1 million if you run on the field this time, Tennessee. Word of the warning on this one, but I don't believe it's going to happen. I think the Bulldogs are going to be not only just barker than their bite, but I think they're going to take a chunk out of the Volunteers. So, I got Georgia winning as well. So, Florio, it's yours.
All right. And we move on to our next matchup. And it features the number 16 Iowa Hawkeyes at home at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. And they're going to be welcoming the Fighting Illini of Illinois. You can find this game over on FS1. Adam Alexander and Devin Gardner on the call. Iowa opening up as a 3-point favorite. So, MF, I believe Iowa is in a position to possibly win the Big Ten West and possibly punch a ticket to Indianapolis in the Big Ten Championship.
Which I do believe that they will. Look, Iowa is like this. Their defense is very stout. They're very good on D. They're very tough on D. Offensively is where they get the biggest problems. But last week, they scored 22 points. They could have scored 35, 42 points, but there was a couple of mistakes along the way, so it wasn't a dominating performance. Yes, they won, but they should have blown this game, the doors off this team, and dominated and did everything they should have done. They did it, but I'm in confidence, and I think Iowa will get the job done. Illinois has been such a up and down team. However, if Illinois wins, that gets them 6 wins. That gets them into at least bowl eligibility. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see it. So I think Iowa wins. They're off to Indianapolis. They're going to be heading off to Lucas Oil Stadium for an opportunity to fight for the Big Ten crown. So, Florio, it's yours.
Agreed. Just trying to find it in my matchups here. Oh. All right, just bear with me here. I know I have it in here somewhere. Let's see. And I know it's in here. Maybe it's not. I'd have to. I don't think I see it here. I thought it'd be in here. Well, I'll keep it short and sweet. I got to go with Iowa. I think Iowa's going to win. I think it's going to be an ugly defensive battle that good old MF Michael Fletcher would appreciate. I'm going to say Iowa will eke by here. ugly game. I'm going to say 14-9. Iowa defeats Illinois and gets a step closer to winning the Big Ten West and going to the Big Ten championship. So not much more to say on that. We move on to our next matchup, which features my team, the now number 19 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, back at home at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend. Home finale. You know what that means. Senior Day at Notre Dame. And it's going to be a reunion of sort for Notre Dame quarterback Sam Hartman, because Sam Hartman and Notre Dame are going to be squaring off against Sam Hartman's former team, the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest, coming in to Notre Dame for Notre Dame's home finale on NBC. And we all know who's working this game, as always, for the final time this season. Jack Collinsworth, Jason Garrett, and Zora Stevenson. Notre Dame opening up as a 24.5-point favorite. I mean, it's got to be Notre Dame. I mean, last time we saw them, well, the Clemson Tigers, yeah, definitely put a dent in our plans, but at least they're bowl eligible. I don't think they're going to make it to a New Year's Six, but they'll probably make it to a bowl game of some sort. But anyways, although a 7th loss wouldn't totally remove Wake Forest from the hunt for bowl eligibility, the Demon Deacons should be playing with some desperation in South Bend. The problem is Notre Dame's sturdy defense is likely to silence a Wake offense that has not cracked 21 points since mid-September. Notre Dame closes out the home schedule in grand style. They'll put them away comfortably. 38-13, Notre Dame over Wake Forest. Nice bounce back for them after that tough loss to Clemson a couple weeks ago. So 38-13, Notre Dame rolls over Wake. Sam Hartman sticks it to his former school. So not much more to say here. MF, number 19, Notre Dame at home against Wake Forest. Sam Hartman against his former school. Home finale for Notre Dame, Senior Day. The final Notre Dame game on NBC this season.
And I do believe Notre Dame will get the job done. I mean, look, it's been a very crazy year for Notre Dame. I know, Anthony, you had a lot of expectations for your team. And in some way, they have somewhat achieved. You know, in 3, it will not be anything to sneeze at. I believe they got one more game right after that. So, yeah, I do believe they'll get the win here. Wake Forest is not really a great team, so I'm really confident on this one. So, yeah, nothing more to say, Florio. We got a good one coming up.
Oh, yeah, the final 3:30 game. And, oh, yeah, big ACC implications in this one, as it will be the number 20 North Carolina Tar Heels on the road against the Clemson Tigers. Oh, boy. Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. You can find this game over on ESPN. Bob Wischusen, Robert Griffin III, Chris Budden on the call. And Clemson is opening up as a 7.5-point favorite.
Yep.
Wow. All right, MF. Number 20, North Carolina and Clemson. Nice. I'd probably say this is probably the number 2 game in the 3:30 window behind that Georgia-Tennessee game. A big one in the ACC here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the thing is, I know a lot of people's like, why are they the favorites? What's going on with that? They are in a very better spot. They are in a real good spot. Look, Clemson, when they play at home, they're a different animal. And I think that's why everybody's going with Clemson on this one, because they are at home. North Carolina, look, they've been up and down and everything else, but they just came off some bad juju going around. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know how that's going to play out. But at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting to watch. For me, would I be surprised if Clemson wins this? No. But I don't know. I kind of feel like North Carolina is going to win this game. I don't know why. I feel like Carolina is going to get this one. So I'm going to go with Carolina, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get if Clemson does pull off the upset. So Florio, it's yours.
Poor red zone execution nearly crushed nearly crushed North Carolina in a double overtime win against Duke last week. Meanwhile, that's been a major problem for Clemson all season. Any guesses for which team will be less bad in that department? I'm going to lean toward Clemson's defense at home uncomfortably. I disagree, MF. I'm calling for the upset here. I think Clemson's going to steal it. 27-26. Clemson upsets North Carolina. Hey, they did it to Notre Dame. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it to North Carolina. They're at home. So I'm going to give Clemson the benefit of the doubt here. So Clemson wins 27-26. So with that, we move on. We have 3 4 o'clock games we're going to be getting into next. And we started off with the team that was number 1 in the CFP for the first couple of weeks, got dropped down to number 2. It will be the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes in their home finale at Ohio Stadium in Columbus, the Horseshoe. And they're going to be welcoming the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. And this game can be found over on the Big Ten Network. And on the call for that one will be Corey Provost, Jake Butt, and Brooke Fletcher. Ohio State opening up as a 27.5-point favorite. Well, we talked about Michigan having a tune-up for Maryland. Well, here's Ohio State's tune-up. Losses to Illinois and Purdue quickly have Minnesota on the brink of missing a bowl. Since the Gophers host a reeling Wisconsin squad next week, they're still in a manageable spot. But they're certainly not expected to truly compete with Ohio State. Ohio State, they will have an easy win, just like Michigan will have an easy win at Maryland. Ohio State, just do what Michigan does against Maryland. Do your job and don't overlook these guys. And because we want that game of the century feel next week. We really do. So I think Ohio State will win comfortably, 41-10. Ohio State all over Minnesota. So not much more to say, MF. Number 2, Ohio State hosting Minnesota in their home finale. Should be an easy win for Ohio State, just like with your Michigan against Maryland, setting up that big game of the century type game next week.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you notice what the committee did, very shrewd, because if you think about it, get a load of this. Georgia is 1. Ohio State and Michigan are 2-3 respectively. You know what they just did. The committee basically put Ohio State and Michigan at 2-3. So if you think about it, the winner of that game will go through. The loser of the game will most likely be out. Because, as you know, all the other teams that have 1 losses, depending on where it goes, that's going to be a major factor. So I really see it that you talk about it being the game of the century level game, which it's got the makings of it. There's no doubt in my mind. This is setting up to be a game of the century. And the thing is that if Michigan or Ohio State wins that game, whoever the team is that wins that game, they have a 98% chance of making the college football playoff. Let me reiterate that for you one more time so that all you fans understand this. The winner of Michigan versus Ohio State in the game of the century will have a 98% chance of making the college football playoff. Ohio State wins on Saturday over Minnesota. That's going to set us up for what undoubtedly will be the biggest game in college football history, because it's not only about the Big Ten championship, but it also will guarantee somebody a college football playoff spot. Florio, it's yours.
Oh man, I cannot wait for next week. That's part of our special content, our special future content, which we're going to address at the end of the show. So, all right. We move on now to our next 4 o'clock game. MF will start it off, and it will feature the number 6 Oregon Ducks on the road against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Mountain America Stadium in Tempe, Arizona, formerly Sun Devil Stadium, of course. You can find this game over on Fox. And on the call for that one will be Jeff Levering and Mark Helfrich. And Oregon opening up as a 23.5-point favorite. So, all right, MF, Oregon on the outside looking in. They still have a chance to make it, right?
They still have a chance to make it. Like I said, all they just have to do is just make it to the Pac-12 championship game. And the thing is that here's the real factor. And this is what the committee, and this is why I said the committee was shrewd. Because obviously you're gonna need 4. So here's the play. One is gonna be possibly right now. You're looking at Georgia as 1. 2 will be the winner of the Michigan versus Ohio State. 3 could be Florida State if they win out. Now the question becomes the 4th spot. Who gets number 4? I believe right now, the way it's going, and because of the way that the committee has the rankings at the moment, Washington and Oregon right now are 5 and 6 respectively. That means if one of these top 4s fall, these 2 teams are possibly looking in, are the next team up. The Pac-12 championship, if I remember correctly, this is just the top 2 teams in the conference. I don't think there's an East and West. So I think the top 2 would be that. And if that's the case, we might be on the verge of a rematch between Oregon and Washington for the Pac-12. If that happens, Oregon, you get your second chance. Oregon, you're now a couple of wins away from making the playoff and being that representative. So how's that going to look? We'll have to wait and find out. I do believe Oregon will win this game. That'll set them up real nicely. So Floyo, is back to you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's right. Excuse me a minute. You started that one off, so let me get into my end here. All right. Arizona State coach Kenny Dillingham served as Oregon's offensive coordinator last season and began to unleash the best version of Oregon quarterback Bo Nix. In that respect, this is a fun reunion. On the field, however, Arizona State likely won't be enjoying much against a torrid Oregon offense and a pesky defense. Oregon wins. They'll win comfortably, 37-20. Oregon over Arizona State. And with that, we move on to our final 4 o'clock game, which features the now number 23 Oklahoma State Cowboys on the road against the Houston Cougars, TDECU Stadium, Houston, Texas. Game can be found over on ESPN2. And on the call for that game will be Dave Fleming, Brock Osweiler, and Caleb Burton. Oklahoma State opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. So let me dive into this one here. Not only did Oklahoma State's winning streak end last week, but UCF straight up steamrolled the Cowboys. That performance is certainly a concern with another road game on the way, although Oklahoma State should be able to bounce back opposite a shaky Houston secondary. High-scoring game, but I believe Oklahoma State is gonna steal this one. Oklahoma State escapes 34-27. Oklahoma State over Houston. So not much more to say. MF, Oklahoma State, we saw it in Bedlam. They were flying high after that magical win against Oklahoma. But then last week, oh boy, they simply looked past UCF, and we saw what happened. UCF manhandled them, and And Oklahoma State lucky to still be in the top 25 here.
Yeah, nah, man, they got what they deserve. That's all I'm gonna say. They got what they deserve. You look past the team. You start to think something bigger, and that you get the Almighty, and you get a hard dose of reality, man. And Oklahoma State, you got a hard dose of reality. I believe this is a bounce back win for them. I do believe they'll get the job done. I really got nothing more to say here, Florio. So it is yours.
All right. We move on now, and we have, I believe it. Yep, we have. Well, we have two showcase games left, and this is the first of those showcase games. It's a 6:30 kickoff, and you'll find this game over on the CW. The number 4 Florida State Seminoles at home at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, and they're going to be welcoming the Lions of North Alabama. North Alabama coming in. We got Tom Wormy, James Bates, and Trevor Scales on the call. There's no spread. You have to imagine Florida State's a very sizable favorite. So,
Yeah.
MF, here you go. Here's another showcase game. Florida State at home against North Alabama.
And I think a lot of people are going to feel like Florida State's got to look a lot more better than they did against Miami. There's some people that felt like they were very fortunate that they won that game. I think there's going to be that moment where it's gonna look like something similar to it. So yeah, give me Florida State to win, and they'll win this pretty comfortably. So Florida, was yours.
Absolutely. Consider this a tune-up game before Florida State travels to Florida in the regular season finale. Florida State, easy win. Another lock of the week. They'll roll 49-7. Florida State all over North Alabama. Primetime games. We only have one 7 o'clock game, and it's another one of our big games of the week here. It's the Battle of Kansas. Here we go. As it will feature the number 21 Kansas State Wildcats on the road against the number 25 Kansas Jayhawks. David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. You can find this game over on FS1. And on the call for that game will be Alex Faust and Petros Papadakis. Kansas State opening up as a 9.5-point favorite. So not much more to say on that. Let's dive into this Battle of Kansas here. Just trying to find it in my notes here. All right. Kansas is aiming to snap a 14-game losing streak in this rivalry. While it clearly would help if the Jayhawks aren't down to a third-string quarterback as they were in last week's loss to Texas Tech, Kansas State is built to grind out a win no matter who's under center for Kansas. I'm going to go with Kansas State to win this one. I'm going to say Kansas State, high-scoring game. Kansas State will win it. I think they'll get a late field goal at the end to win it. 31-28, Kansas State over Kansas. So not much more to say here. MF, your thoughts on the Battle of Kansas? Number 21 Kansas State against number 25 Kansas.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those type of battles. It's going to be a very good very good game. I actually kind of disagree here. I don't know why. Look, Kansas had a big win earlier in the season. They knocked off Oklahoma at home. I think Lightning is about to strike twice. I'm going to go for the upset. I'm going to say Kansas stuns K-State here, and I think they'll win the game. So, yeah, Florio, it's yours.
MF, we have our game of the week coming up next. It's the big one. Huge game in the Pac-12. It's the ABC Saturday night game of the week. We got 4 games left. 2 of them are 7:30 kickoffs. This is the first of those 2 7:30 kickoffs. Game of the week, if you really think about it. The number 5 Washington Huskies on the road against the number 11 Oregon State Beavers from Reser Stadium in Corvallis, Oregon. A game of this magnitude, only one crew can do it. You know who it is. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe. And Oregon State opening up as a 2-point favorite
Yep.
Here we go, MF. Number 5, Washington. Number 11, Oregon State. The default game of the week. Huge implications in the Pac-12.
Without a doubt, this is it, it doesn't get any bigger than this one. This is, like you said, the game of the week. Um and I know a lot of people saying Oregon State for the win, but I kind of feel like Washington right now with Penix Jr. And remember, Penix Jr. right now is a Heisman Trophy candidate. I think a game like this might cement the Heisman for him. I expect him to have a monster performance. You know, when the lights are bright under the big when that spotlight is bright under the big stars under this type of situation, normally the Heisman shines brighter than anybody else. I think Penix is gonna have that kind of a night, and I do believe he will make his case for the Heisman Trophy against everybody's expectation of Oregon State winning this. I disagree. Washington wins. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. Let me pull it up here. This is without a doubt the game of the week right here. Oregon State's most ideal path to victory comes through a solid defensive performance. The Beavers earned 3 of their last 5 wins by holding opponents under the 20-point mark. Oregon State may be able to contain Michael Penix Jr., similar to how Oregon and the Arizona State Sun Devils did earlier in the season. The Ducks slowed down the left-handed Heisman candidate for a stretch of the second half, and Arizona State got a ton of pressure on the quarterback and limited the Huskies to 15 points. Oregon State must put Penix under pressure from the start, and that could lead to a handful of punts or turnovers. The Beavers are coming off a 6-sack, 4-interception performance against Stanford last week. Of course, Washington is playing at a higher level than Stanford, but that is a good baseline for what the Beavers are capable of. Washington's defense has not played at an elite level in the last month, but it can slow down the home side with interceptions. Oregon State quarterback DJ Uiagalelei threw 2 of his 4 picks this season against Oregon State's 2 ranked foes. A stingy Oregon State defense and a Washington unit that forces Uiagalelei into difficulty could lead to a lower scoring game than expected, with the Pac-12 championship game on the line for both sides. Washington can afford a loss and still go to Las Vegas, but that would hurt its college football playoff chances. Oregon State sits at 5-2 in league play and needs a win to stay alive ahead of next week's in-state battle with Oregon, the Civil War. This is a very tough one to call, but I gotta give a slight edge to Washington here. High scoring game, 33-31. Washington holds off Oregon State, but would I be surprised if Oregon State wins this? I absolutely would not, and I don't think MF would be either. So, but I got to go with Washington. I think Washington's slightly better, so I think Washington's going to eke it out 33-31. So that's going to be a great game. 2 games left, and they're both 8 o'clock kickoffs. We move on to the number 7 Texas Longhorns on the road against the Iowa State Cyclones from Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. You can find this game over on Fox. And on the call for that. Nope. Hold on. Let's back that up here. We actually have one other 7:30 game left. I'm glad I caught that. We have the number 9 Missouri Tigers at home at I believe it's called the Farrat Field there. Yes, Farrat Field at Memorial Stadium in Columbia, Missouri. The number 9 Missouri Tigers at home against the Florida Gators. And you can find this game over on ESPN. On the call for that one will be Joe Tessitore, Jesse Palmer, and Katie George. And Missouri opening up as an 11.5-point favorite. So, all right, this is the game that we need to address next. So let's dive on in. Just got to find it in my notes. Okay. Missouri rolled to an emphatic 36-7 win over Tennessee last weekend. Florida, meanwhile, has yielded 39 plus points in 4 straight games. Florida coach Billy Napier's hot seat probably won't get any cooler. Missouri pulls away late. I think Missouri will win this one. 41-27. Missouri knocks off Florida. So not much more to say. MF, Missouri, with that very impressive win over Tennessee last week. They got Florida coming in now. Can they keep that momentum going? I say yes, they can. 41-27 for me.
I don't think there's really much for me to say here. I'm going with Missouri. There's really nothing more to add. Florio, it's yours.
All right, now we're gonna move. Now we got 2 games left, and now we're gonna move on to the 8:00 game. And MF, here you go. Only fitting you started off. It's one of your favorites. The number 7 Texas Longhorns on the road against the Iowa State Cyclones, Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. You can find this game over on Fox. And on the call for that one will be. Well, I might have overlooked it. All right, there it is. Jason Benetti, Brock Heward, and Allison Williams. And Texas opening up as a 7.5-point favorite. So MF Texas on the outside looking in as well, but they got to fight. They got to go up against Iowa State on the road. That's not easy. That might be a little bit somewhat of a trap game there.
It could be somewhat of a trap game, no doubt about it. But I'm pretty confident that Texas will get the job done here. So look, Texas has been up and down all season long. I think Texas should win this game going away. So give me the Texas Longhorns. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. Let me just get it here. Iowa State locked in bowl eligibility with a rout of BYU last week. Still, the Cyclones are in decent position to pull off an upset. Texas hasn't been convincing lately, and Iowa State secondary is an opportunistic group. I believe Texas wins, but is probably headed for a nerve-testing finish on the road. Texas ekes by 27-24. Texas squeaks by Iowa State. Final game of the week, showcase game to close it out. The number 15 LSU Tigers at home, Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, welcoming the Panthers of Georgia State. And you can find this game over on ESPN2. Roy Philpott, Roddy Jones, and Taylor McGregor will be on the call for that one. LSU opening up as a 31.5-point favorite. There's no question about this one. It's LSU. Back-to-back 28-point losses for Georgia State against James Madison and Appalachian State are just highly problematic, entering a clash with Heisman Trophy candidate Jaden Daniels. LSU rolls 52-24. LSU all over Georgia State. MF, take it home.
Agreed. I'll go with LSU as well. There's really not much more to add. So, Anthony, let's call it a night.
And we will do indeed that. So that will indeed put the bow on this Week 12 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. All right. Future content announcement. We got quite a bit of them. So I hope you all have a pen and paper on hand because there's going to be a quiz after. So get ready. So here we go. Well, of course, it's the traditional stuff first. We'll next be with you tomorrow night, 10 p.m., right back here on the Tone 25 for the Week 11 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday. We'll recap the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens from Thursday Night Football. A lot of news coming out of this one. We'll definitely dive into that tomorrow night. No show Saturday night because there will be the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view, so we're not going to have a show tomorrow on Saturday night. Here comes the special content now. Sunday night, 10 p.m. on MF's channel, Braves Fan 95, a special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Collision, and the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. Monday night, immediately following Monday Night Raw here on the Tone 25, ridiculously raw as we kick off Survivor Series week, as we will review Monday Night Raw's go-home show for Survivor Series. And on top of that, we will be previewing the 37th annual WWE Survivor Series pay-per-view War Games. We're going to get into that on Monday night as well. Wednesday night. Normally, it is Wednesday Night Madness, where we get into NXT and AEW Dynamite and all that. For 1 week only, we're putting that on the back burner. Because next Wednesday night, it is our annual TXN Sports World Football Feast. It's feast time, baby. And we are going to preview the 3 NFL games on Thanksgiving Day: the Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions, the Washington Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys, and a possible cross-flex game, MF. Keep this in mind, a possible cross-flex game on our end. The San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. And in addition to that, we're also going to be previewing the first ever Black Friday game in NFL history, when MF's Miami Dolphins square off against the New York Jets. In addition to that, week 13 of college football, rivalry week. And I don't think there's anything else that's left that needs to be said except the game of the year, the game of the century, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Michigan Wolverines. Yes, that's the game of the week, but we got some other tasty matchups for you as well. You could consider that the main course, if you will. But we got a great appetizer the night before on Black Friday night. How about the Civil War? Oregon State and Oregon. Oh, yeah. But wait, there's more. Oh, there's more. How about the Iron Bowl? Alabama and Auburn. And, of course, the Battle of Florida, Florida State and Florida. That's gonna conjure up some memories. You know, I'll tell you what. Most of the Saturday games are not all that exciting. I mean, maybe I could see Colorado and Utah being a decent game. I may even consider Kentucky, Louisville, and maybe even give a chance to Georgia and Tech. But of course, we got other notable rivalry games: the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and the Apple Cup with Washington State and Washington. But if you ask me, when it comes to college football next week, it's all about Ohio State and Michigan. It's also about the Civil War, Oregon State and Oregon. Honest to goodness, those are the 2 biggies next week. Other good ones there, but it starts with Oregon State and Oregon next Friday night, 8:30 p.m. And that game's actually going to be on Fox. So SmackDown is actually going to be on FS1 next week. And then, of course, the big one, Ohio State and Michigan. And 1 week from tonight, we will not have a show, which is hence why we're doing it the night before. Obviously, next Thursday, of course, happens to be one of the most beautiful family holidays of the entire calendar year, that being Thanksgiving Day. No show there. And then next Friday night, it will be, NFL Friday, and we'll have more on that tomorrow night. So that's it. So hope you got all that. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Week 11 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday, it's Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, and of course, always and forever, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday, and until tomorrow night, for the Week 11 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday, you've been watching the Week 12 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday, right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.